To a report, that will be coming out today on the underlying socio-economic challenges facing mining communities will be launched today. The hearings were conducted by the South African Human Rights Commission. Now, the findings show that despite extensive regulation, current industry practice is still characterized by a lot that is not going right there. And my colleague Masego Rahlaga is covering this story for us, and she joins us live. Masego, good morning to you. So talk to us briefly about what's likely to come out of this report.
Good morning, Xoli. Well, this morning we don't really know what's going to come out of the report, but we do know that when the public hearings did take place in September and November of 2016, the people, or rather the organizations that did make submissions to the South African Human Rights Commission include the South African Local Government Association. Now, Xoli, SAHRC at the time, they were saying that cooperation between mining companies and themselves is not adequate, and they were basically saying that they don't know sometimes, municipalities don't know sometimes when a mining license is awarded to a certain company, and therefore those municipalities can't actually make adequate plans for those mining communities, or rather plans for the land and systems for the land so that the mine can operate properly. Another organization that actually also made submissions includes the Center for the Environmental Rights, and what they were actually mostly talking about, Xoli, was the people, the communities, the people who live in those communities. Obviously in mining communities there's a lot of water pollution, air pollution, and people end up having sicknesses as a result of the businesses of the mines, and therefore today we'll find out some recommendations from the Commissioner with regards to the representations or the presentations that were made. The recommendations will probably look at specifically the Department of Mineral Resources and obviously probably the Justice Department as well with regards to policy around mining communities.
Masego, the other issue that is of importance is that of the Zamazamas. Do you know whether this report will look at all into those illegal activities of the Zamazamas? These are the illegal miners who go in there while the mine has shut down. They go in there to try and scrape for whatever that they can find. Many of them end up dying underground, and there are also turf fights that go on between them. Did this report look at all into that?
Of course, Xoli, that will definitely be form part of the report, especially because most of the time these Zamazamas go into mines that have been abandoned, and of course nobody knows that there are Zamazamas in there most of the time, and it's an underworld type of industry, and that's why it's so difficult sometimes to find the Zamazamas until a point where they've already died. And this of course looks at the fact that economically these communities that are in the mining communities aren't able to develop economically, and therefore the people who live there, for instance, if the Zamazamas do something that will cause some sort of seismic event, then there's going to be a problem, because obviously the land is then very badly affected. But of course there will be a lot of talk about the crime that comes into that specific industry, or rather people going into the mines when they are not given any rights to go into those mines. And it's of course people who are living in very poor conditions that resort to actually going into those mines to try and find or salvage whatever might be left down there.
Right, thank you very much for that update, Masego Rahlaga, giving us just a quick heads up ahead of the release of this investigative report on the underlying socio-economic challenges facing mining communities.